Yo, that's how I text my weed, man. I text them, yo. They always hit me back and like, what's good, G? Now I only got one, but since I'm not living where I usually live at, I got multiple ones. That's why I can't wait to get back to my place. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Welcome back to the channel, Saints World. Welcome back to the episode. Welcome back to Kicking It with Saint, man. I don't know why I struggled to get that out, man. It's about to be a real chill podcast tonight, a real chill episode tonight, a real chill video tonight, bro. I'm vibing tonight. I be vibing every night, but I'm just real relaxed tonight for some reason. Like hella relaxed. Like I was listening to J. Cole, trying to get hyped up. And I know some people like, oh, J. Cole boring. Anyways, I was listening to a specific J. Cole song, trying to get hyped up, and I was like, nah, I'm just vibing right now, bro. Now you might hear a heater in the back, cause it's cold, and I don't want to be cold, so I got a heater on. But you don't really gotta pay no attention to that. I also got a I got a thing for the mic to put on it to cancel out the extra noise, and I forgot it. So, you know, we still vibing. Anyways, a lot of things to get. You see, a lot of things to get into. We already did the video for breaking down the upcoming matchups in the playoffs and whatnot. I kind of fuck with them edits, bro. I be coming up with these random edits for all the videos and stuff. Sometimes I be lazy and just put the same basic ones on there, but most of the time they be creative and shit. That first cut is what was gonna come eventually, bro. But anyways, a lot of stuff to talk about, bro, in the NFL. David Culley. In the last podcast, I mentioned that we was gonna talk about coaches getting fired. Never got to it. So let's talk about some of these coaches that got fired. David Culley got fired today. Now that was an interesting one. I did talk about the Brian Flores fire. The more news that come out about that though, and I was never 100% like, I didn't expect for them to fire him, but I'm not really like, oh man, I can't believe they fired Brian Flores, for a couple reasons. And I understand the people who say, oh, he shouldn't have been fired. And we'll get to it, but they fired David Culley today. Now, with David Culley being fired, it is only one black African American head coach in the NFL, and I just think that is crazy in a league that's 78% black African American. I think that only one coach being an African American male is insane. Not to mention the one that's black, Mike Tomlin, don't even employ a shit ton of black people on his staff anyway. So, you know what I'm saying? He ain't Bruce Arians. But anyways, David Culley getting fired is interesting because I don't know if I said it in the beginning of the season. I mean, shit, he was a dead man walking anyways. They never wanted him. It's reports that Deshaun Watson had wanted an African American head coach. So, I mean, they hired him last minute, even though they had all season basically to find a new fucking head coach after they had fired Bill O'Brien. But David Culley walked into a... Now listen, I'm one of them people who don't think that you should take any head coaching job, but then I do understand when people be like, it's only 32 of these jobs in the world, so you want to take one. I do get that. And some coaches do have the ability, I mean, they do have the luxury of being able to wait on jobs and whatnot. Now, the great coaches don't even have openings. Like, most of the great coaches, you don't... Like Sean Payton, Tomlin, Harbaugh, Bill Belichick. Them coaches don't become available anyway. So like the Sean McVay won't be becoming available no time soon. Kyle Shanahan, I don't believe, will become available no time soon. So coaches like that don't become available anyways. So when you get to these other head coaches and whatnot, you gotta it's they could have done better than David. Listen, I don't know. Oh, this is a tough one. This is why I'm starting with David Culley, because I don't think they ever wanted to hire him anyways. I think they just filled out that thing like I was looking at it's unbelievable how I forget these shows' names. The one that got Marcellus Wiley and Emmanuel Acho. when they was talking about, I kind of agree with Emmanuel Acho when he was like, he don't really want to make it a black issue. I mean, but it's hard not to, um, because he kind of feel like you hired him because he black and because Deshaun wanted a black coach. This is my thing. Cause I mean, I don't really know if it's a black issue all the way, because I think they could end up hiring Brian Flores or somebody, and then it'd be hard to say, oh, they was being racist. This is my thing, because it's not really hard for me to not to make it a race issue, to be honest with you, only because of this. It was reports last year that they wanted to hire Josh McCown, and truly, like I said, based off of how late it took them to hire him, it really don't feel like they really wanted him anyway. Now, I will say it's crazy that out of the last couple years, only 3 head coaches done lost their jobs after 1 year. 2 of them was African Americans and didn't really deserve to lose their jobs after 1 year. And then the other one was fucking Urban Meyer, who did indeed deserve. He deserved to lose his job after he pulled that stunt early in the season in Cincinnati. Either way, when you look at David Culley, bro, I don't think they really ever wanted to hire him. Like, I think that's really what it come down to. So when you don't really want to hire somebody, any little thing you do can, let you fire. And that's why it's really, like, to me, it's not really a race thing as much as it is, this is just a bad organization. Like, it's just a bad organization, to be completely honest with you. For the people who make it a race thing, I get it and I understand it. Like, you could probably convince me that this is more, but I just think this is one of them situations where Deshaun Watson not playing just fucked up the whole team. Because if Deshaun Watson played this year, David Culley probably got it keeping his job. I mean, it's a good chance he keeping it. Now, granted, it's a chance that if he wanted to play, like if they knew coming into this year that Deshaun was playing, David Culley probably don't even get hired. They probably hire somebody specifically that Deshaun Watson handpicked. But I don't think he gave a damn about who they hired because he didn't want to be there anyways. Now, to Deshaun Watson, that dude kind of like, that is kind of like, I don't really understand why Deshaun didn't play this year, to be completely honest with you. I mean, even though he was fighting them charges and whatnot, I mean, he still could have played, I believe. So I do remember he didn't want to be there. Hey, respect to that motherfucker for actually sitting out the whole year, bro, because they definitely trading his ass now. Like, hey, he wanted out and he did exactly what you had to do to get it. Now, I see it's a lot of older folks that get mad that all these athletes don't honor these contracts, even though for years I don't really understand how they didn't care that these franchises don't honor contracts. Like, you can never convince me that it's a reason for these older folks who talk on the media, in the media every day about these athletes. You can never convince me they have a legitimate reason to be mad about this. And they done got these younger fans and these middle-aged fans and whatnot to be on their side. And maybe when I blow up one day, those folks that hate this type of thing, hate my breakdowns and my podcast and my show and whatnot, because I'm a player, pro player really, because how can you get mad at like a Ben Simmons? Because I saw Skip talking about this today, saying he getting mad at athletes for doing. How can you be mad at Ben Simmons in all the situation? Just ignore the situation he in. Ignore all the things that done happened. He don't want to honor the last 4 years of his contract. How is that any different from any of these other franchises? The Yankees, the Lakers, the Packers, the Ravens, the Cowboys, any of these sports franchises not honoring contracts for athletes. When they sign an athlete and the athlete have a bad year or don't live up to what they think they should have done, they cut them or they trade them. I never see people bitching and complaining then. I never see those same older folks bitching and complaining then, because the franchise did what was best for the franchise. I never see those people complaining about the franchise doing what's best for the franchise. I only see them complaining about players doing what's best for players. And that's, like I said, very weird when in life most people do what's best for them and their family and their careers. But we expect athletes not to do it just because we root for a team and we don't want them to leave the team, so we got to try to make them feel, try to make them feel bad about making a business decision that's best for them, and try to throw in there, oh, well, they didn't live up to the contract. Owners and teams never live up to contracts, so I'm not trying to hear none of that. But with this whole David Culley situation, I just think he was in a lose-lose situation. And what's crazy is the Texans won 4 games last year, and that was with Deshaun Watson. This motherfucker found a way to win 4 games this year without Deshaun Watson. That is insane. So David Culley got something in him. The players fought for him, and he did deal with the Tyrod Taylor being injured off and on. Davis Mills, a 3rd round draft pick, I believe. He had to, so he really didn't have much to work with, to be completely honest with you. So to get 4, because I thought the Texans was gonna go winless. I'm 1,000% being like dead ass with you right now. I did not think the Texans was gonna win a single game. So that's pretty wild to me that the motherfucker actually found a way to get 4 dubs out of it. So it is pretty crazy when you fire a dude who had absolutely nothing to work with and he found a way. Now, I'm not a moral victory type of dude, but I am a realist, bro. The motherfucker just found a way to get 4 wins in the NFL with backups basically going in and out on a carousel. And it's not even talking about all the different injuries on both sides of the ball and the COVID situations and shit like that. This is just legit just talking about the quarterback situation. Like, so it's very hard to say like he deserved to be fired, but I understand why they fired him, because they never intended to hire him, and they never intended for this relationship to be probably longer than 2 years. And clearly for them, 1 year was good enough for them. Like, the only way I could have seen David Culley getting like any leap of faith or extension of, to be honest, or like confidence to be there for a little minute, is if he had came out this year and had like double-digit wins or 8-9 wins. It's hard for me to see them bringing him back for longer than that, unless Deshaun Watson wanted him. But I don't think Deshaun Watson playing another game as a Texan. So, like I said, they should have just hired a fucking head coach that could have rebuilt the culture and whatnot, even without Deshaun. Like, ego is why the Texans are in the situation they in right now. It's Deshaun Watson and it's the management of the Texans. You can blame both of them. I understand a lot of people just gonna blame Deshaun Watson, but the Texans could have traded him. Point blank period. They could have traded him. J.J. Watt had years left on his deal. They freely cut that man so he could go pick a team, because he could provide nothing else to the team in their opinion. Deshaun Watson was still a great quarterback and could provide a lot for the team. So they didn't want to trade him. They wouldn't move up. Now, I'm not even mad at him at the end of the day for not trading for Tua, because I have been convinced over the last couple of weeks that Tua might not be that guy. He might just be a guy. Because I'm just not a fan of quarterbacks who dink and dunk their way through through a season, bro. It's hard to be a fan of that, because then they throw picks in key situations when they got to go down the field. Like, it's just very hard for me to fall head over heels for these dink and dunk quarterbacks, bro. That's why I really don't have no faith in Mac Jones, to be completely honest with you right now. But for Mac Jones, it's a little bit different, because for Mac Jones, it's Josh McDaniels. I have no faith in Josh McDaniels, and to an extent, it's Belichick with the play calling. For allowing that shit to keep happening. Anyways, another head coach that got fired, Mike Zimmer. I kind of agree with the Mike Zimmer firing. I was talking about that all season, that I thought they was gonna fire him anyways. And it's not necessarily that Mike Zimmer a bad head coach. It's just that I think it was time. I think the Vikings just need a fresh start. And this was crazy. Two things one of two things can happen. Either you're gonna end up having to get rid of Kirk Cousins and legitimately going out and finding a quarterback that can put the team on his shoulders and win games, or you're going to have to find a head coach that's an offensive-minded coach. Because, listen, a lot of the coaches that got fired was defensive-minded head coaches. Vic Fangio, Mike Zimmer. The only one who was really an offensive coordinator, offensive-minded coach, was Matt Nagy, and that motherfucker forgot how to call offensive games, basically, his last 2 years. But when you have to, the Vikings, because I think the Vikings might be the best landing spot, like the best head coaching opportunity. Because I was thinking at first that it was, and y'all gonna think this shit crazy what I'm finna say. I thought the best coaching opening was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Even though I think that's the worst organization I think the fact that they got Trevor Lawrence, and I'm real high on Trevor Lawrence, I think the fact that they got him make it the best opportunity, because if you have a quarterback, you have a chance. And a lot of these other teams don't have quarterbacks. Like I don't really I don't trust what am I thinking? I had to take a sip, bro. I had to take a sip. Plus somebody had messaged me and I was reading the message at the same time. But I know that sounds crazy to say, like, I think Jacksonville was the best opening. But I don't trust, like, Trevor Lawrence is a rookie for one, and I'm high on Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a stud. So the right coaching staff and the right people in place could turn that around easily, because you already have a quarterback. I'm looking at the Chicago situation, and that's not even a bad situation either. I like some of the pieces they got on defense, and I like Justin Fields too. I just don't think Justin Fields is better than Trevor Lawrence. And then what's another situation? Texans is that's just a bad situation right now. I don't like most of the defensive pieces, the offensive pieces. You don't have a quarterback. That's not a good situation to be walking into right now. The Dolphins, I mean, it depends on how you feel about Tua, if that's a good situation or not. Because I'm not really high on Tua, so I think it's a lot of good pieces on the Dolphins, but I'm just not really high on Tua. Now, maybe an offensive coordinator can come in there and flip this thing around, but I think the way you get the most out of Tua is putting him in a system like Kyle Shanahan got. But I'm looking at all, and then when you think about David Culley getting fired, bro, did they see what happened over there in Detroit with an established quarterback in the NFL and Jared Goff? Didn't them motherfuckers just win like 3 games? David Culley won more games than them dudes. Like, so I don't understand that. If that's the case, Dan Campbell should have been fired. But either way, it's really insane when you think about it. But either way, for the Vikings, I ended up thinking that was the best situation over the Jags for the simple reason, even though I do think Trevor Lawrence will be better than Kurt. I mean, for right now, I gotta take Kurt over all these other quarterbacks. The thing is, it's not even Kurt that convincing me. It's the weapons, bro. Like Thielen, if he got anything left in the tank, you got I can't even remember the tight end over there right now. I can't remember his name at the moment. You got Justin Jefferson, a top 5 receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. You got a great running back in Dalvin Cook, who probably a top 5 running back in the NFL right now. Like, Minnesota got a lot of players. You got Danielle Hunter over there. You got Harrison Smith. Like, it's a lot of players. If Anthony Barr still got anything left in the tank, I guess I could apply that to Harrison Smith too, since he's getting older. Either way, I think the Vikings as a team is the most complete team out of every team that you could possibly probably get. And probably aside from the Dolphins, because the Dolphins are a pretty good team aside from the quarterback position. But I just think if you get the right off, like if you had a Kyle Shanahan and you put him on the Vikings right now, the Vikings are a 10-win team. 10-plus win team. Because that type of offensive system is going to do wonders with these type of weapons. That's why I'm really confused on how the Vikings missed the playoffs. Well, I'm not confused because I watched the Vikings and I saw how atrocious that offense looked at times. And it's weird because they lose most of these games by 1 score, and it's not even weird when you watch them play. Because a lot of these stats and shit that Kurt compiled, it's 2 ways that they do this. Either they come out the gates hot and cool down over the end of the game, or they come out the gates cold and then get hot at the end of the game. It's no in between with the Vikings. Like, they do not put together a full game. 4 quarters in a row, Kirk Cousins is not going to be dealing. That was the problem with the Vikings. Too inconsistent. And I think that's my problem with Kurt. I'm confused, actually. I don't know if it's Kurt that's inconsistent or if it was just the play calling or if it was both. But I do think it was time to get a fresh voice in there, a fresh face, a fresh coach, something that can, a coach that can remotivate these dudes. Well, you shouldn't need a coach to motivate you, but Somebody who can, reset the energy in the room, bro. Because I do think Mike Zim was getting a little stale. Now, Zim could end up finding a new job. I mean, he a good head coach. I think his biggest problem is, and it's crazy to say this when he had Kevin Stefanski, but I just don't think offenses under the Zim is consistent enough or good enough. And as good as his defenses is, I saw a stat the other day that was like his defenses get worse every year. So I don't know, man. It's really hard. To be honest with you, it's a lot of young cats out there right now that's like I would probably hire over Zimmer. Because it was a time where I was like, yeah, you got to hire the older guy. But not really in this situation. A young, fresh, energetic, offensive-minded dude could come in here and fucking turn the Vikings all the way up. Like, all the way up. I really, truly believe that they could get somebody young in there like Joe Lombardi. Like, it's a lot of dudes out there. Bieniemy. Shit, I be talking about Bieniemy to the Raiders because I specifically want to see Derek Carr get a great coach with an offensive mind. But Bieniemy to the Raiders, to the Vikings could be nasty. It really depends on how you feel about Kirk Cousins, to be completely honest with you. Because if you don't like Kirk Cousins, it's not even about liking him. If you don't think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, then the Vikings is not a great situation. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have nothing. And it's hard to judge Kirk Cousins, to be honest with you, because he had put up good stats. But I think a lot of his stats is pointless stats, empty calories, like Shannon Sharp like to say. So it's hard to judge Kirk, but I do think I'm at the point where I don't think they can win with Kirk Cousins like a Super Bowl. But I would like to see if an offensive-minded dude could come in there and flip that. Here's the thing. Bieniemy, let's say the Vikings get Bieniemy. I do believe Bieniemy could work wonders for that team, just because of all the weapons on that team. But let's say the Raiders get Bieniemy. Well, I think the Raiders is instantly a far better team because Dereck Carr working with Bieniemy. Unfucking real. Mind you, I'm working on my MVP for the Saint MVP for 2022. Dereck Carr is going to win that award. I don't know if I done said that already, but I fucking love that man. Just a quick moment to give a shout out to Dereck Carr. I hope you see this one day and hear this. Because I appreciate Dereck Carr. I've been a Dereck Carr fan, and I know y'all getting tired of me regurgitating this. But I have been a Dereck Carr fan since he came out of Fresno State. Now, I don't remember most of these dudes' colleges they go to, because like I said, I do not watch college football and could care less about it. But I remember that about Dereck Carr, because I remember the draft night, and I remember all people talking about, comparing him to his brother and all that type of shit. Showing him getting drafted when his brother got drafted and he was on the stage and all that. I remember all that. And I remember looking at all the highlights and looking at all the film and shit, all the quarterbacks coming in that year. And I can't even remember all the quarterbacks that year. I would have to go back and look at it. That's how long it's been. But I do remember saying to myself in that moment, I was like, Dereck Carr is going to be the best quarterback in this draft. And I remember he waited and they waited, and then the Raiders finally took him. I was like, the Raiders just changed their franchise forever. And they had Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. And we only know, and it's so crazy how people don't really understand how much a coach matters to a team. Because you get somebody like John Gruden who come in there and you get all the different type of plethora of head coach. And really this got to do with these organizations just regurgitating the same bad head coaches. Like I saw somebody tweet this on Twitter, like, stop hiring the same bad coaches. Like, and that's a fact. The NFL continues to let these dudes hire. Like, it should be a limit on how many times a dude can be fired and rehired, bro. Especially some of these coaches that get ample amounts of time to do shit and still can't get teams over humps. I just, you know what I'm saying? Because some of these coaches give you signs. Like, they show you how good a head coach. There's no reason the Ravens should have 8 wins on the season. There's no reason they should have been competing as long as that team was to the very end. But John Harbaugh is a great fucking head coach. There's no reason the Steelers should be in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin's a great fucking head coach. So it's no reason the Saints should have been competing as long as they did. Sean Payton's a great fucking head coach. So head coaches matter. I'm telling you, if you took, and I know I use this dude a lot, but he just so easy to use just because of how, so to me it's so very obvious how great of a head coach he is. especially because he is unbelievable at calling the game also, in my opinion. And the fact that he can overcome all these dudes lack with I can't even talk right now. Specifically, his ability to call a game around his quarterback is just so fucking impressive to me. And that's Kyle Shanahan. If you take Kyle Shanahan and you throw him on the Raiders when they had those three weapons, and Amari Cooper, Dereck Carr, and they probably was going to get Josh Jacobs, and you get them Bro on the defense, Khalil Mack on the defense, you telling me that team don't work wonders? You telling me Derek Carr go through all those rough years still? You telling me Kyle Shanahan can't get Derek Carr to multiple playoff appearances? And this is Derek Carr's first playoff appearance, because the year that he was about to win MVP and he got them to the playoffs, he got hurt. I believe it was on either Christmas or Thanksgiving Day. I think it was on Christmas. But you telling me Kyle Shanahan wouldn't work wonders with this team? Or one of those great head coaches? So head coaches truly matter. Head coaches matter. And I just don't think the Raiders done given Derek Carr a great head coach, especially seeing as how John Gruden stripped so many things away. And I think at the end of the day, John Gruden made a lot of bad draft picks. I really do believe it was a lot of bad draft picks that he was responsible for. Because even ignore the fact, well, you don't have to ignore it, but Henry Ruggs did have his off the field issue that happened this year. I still don't think that was who he should have drafted anyways. I don't think that was the receiver that Derek Carr needed. Some of the defensive players that he drafted, Jonathan Abrams, I think that's a good player. It was better options in the draft. The only player that he done drafted on defense that I actually really do like is Max Crosby. I like Max Crosby. Now he went quiet down the stretch this season, but I think that got a lot to do when you the best pass rusher on your team. Offenses is gonna plan for you. There's no other pass. Yannick Ngakoue, as good as he is, he don't put up big sack numbers. So when you clearly and obviously the best player on your defensive line, you might not be Aaron Donald, but you damn sure gonna start getting that Aaron Donald type of treatment. Alright? Because that's the easiest way to neutralize you, by making you have to go through 2, 3, 4 dudes. Especially when the other dudes on your team rarely ever beat they guys. So back to the Vikings. I think the Vikings the best landing spot, but I do think Eric Bieniemy, like I said, when you compare the two, if I had to compare the two, matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, after all that talking about Derek Carr, and I didn't even finish praising the man, the Raiders is actually the best landing spot in my opinion for a head coach. Because for one, I don't think they haven't fired Bisaccia yet. I do think they're going to end up firing him at the end of the season, and not necessarily that they want to fire him in a bad way, like, oh, he wasn't good, he didn't do a good job, because he ended up, ultimately the team got to the playoffs. But I do think you got to go out and actually, I just think Eric Bieniemy would be so fucking great for this team. Unless he a complete fraud and not what I think he is, Eric Bieniemy make a lot of fucking sense. I know some people would be like, oh, well, Brian Flores. Well, the reason I don't think Brian Flores is a good head coach for this team is because Brian Flores' offense. Listen, you can say what you want to about the quarterback. I see offensive-minded coaches be able to win in spite of the quarterback. Kevin Stefanski, you can say whatever the fuck you want to about him this year. Kevin Stefanski's offense was lit last year, and that was around a quarterback who is not that great. Say what you want to about Jimmy Garoppolo, and I done heard a lot of people say what they want to about Jimmy Garoppolo. Kyle Shanahan done got this man to a Super Bowl with that as his starting quarterback. So it's dudes in the league who can turn shit around, and I think Bieniemy could be that dude. I got a lot of faith in him because I think that's the way the league moving right now with young offense. And you know what's another good offensive position that could possibly be a good spot? The New York Giants, depending on Saquon Barkley and the receivers, Galladay, that could be a good landing spot also. But it's just I don't think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, and I think Daniel Jones is actually the worst quarterback out of all the quarterbacks in any of these landing spots. I think the best quarterback is Derek Carr. It's not even close. Now, I would take Derek Carr over Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence, Derek Carr, to me, is not comparable because Derek Carr, is very few quarterbacks that could do what Derek Carr just did this year. For one, he lost his best option for the majority of the year, which was his tight end, Darren Waller. Then he lost his receiver, his best receiver, in Henry Ruggs. I say this multiple times on multiple episodes, and I really don't mean no disrespect when I say this to Hunter Renfrow, but he made y'all motherfuckers believe Hunter Renfrow was a great receiver, when Hunter Renfrow is at best a slot receiver. Probably a good slot receiver. And that's who he had as his number one receiver. Hunter Renfrow is probably, and I'm not going to keep hammering Hunter Renfrow, but that's who he had as his number one receiver for the majority of the season. He had a shaky offensive line because most of all their offensive line, the pieces were traded away and released. So Derek Carr went through a head coach, with his head coach having to be fired because of racist and homophobic tweets and whatnot. He dealt with that. So Derek Carr, and like I said, the Henry Ruggs situation, he had to deal with that and still be a leader, still had to come in there every day and convince this team that we still got a chance. Now, I said earlier in the season, the Pro Bowl, you don't always make the Pro Bowl because of stats. Sometimes people look at the game and be like, yeah, he better than the stats show. MVP, to me, should be more than just stats. Yes, Aaron Rodgers had a great statistical season. If we're just going off of stats, though, Brady had just as good a statistical season. The thing about Aaron Rodgers is he don't throw interceptions. So his numbers always look gaudier because he don't throw interceptions. And when you don't throw interceptions, especially when you don't throw double-digit interceptions and you throw high double-digit touchdowns, your numbers are naturally going to look gaudy. But Tom Brady had a great statistical year also. As much as I like both of those quarterbacks, I don't think either of the two should truly be the NFL MVP this year. I think Derek Carr is the MVP because there's no way most quarterbacks under these circumstances could have gotten their teams to the and listen, both Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are too talented. They are more talented than Derek Carr. They are better quarterbacks than Derek Carr. But with Derek Carr, and listen, I don't know how Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers would have responded to if these situations happened to them. If they lost their best receiver, their best tight end, or their best option was out for the majority of the season. Then after him, he basically loses. When I say they lost, he lost his best wide receiver. His best receiving option was a tight end in Darren Waller, obviously. But I don't know how you get through a season when you lose that many pieces to a team and the head coach. Like Tom Brady and Aaron have never had to deal with that, and I imagine if they did, they could probably get through it. But the fact of the matter is they haven't had to deal with that. Derek Carr did, and he still found a way to get this team to the playoffs. That's bigger than stats, folks. That's big time. I think that's an MVP. That's the most valuable player. The Raiders do not get to the playoffs without Derek Carr. And I've been getting on here preaching Derek Carr's worth all year, saying how valuable I think he is, and that I truly think the Raiders need to keep him. But if they go in a different direction where they just want to start fresh, I get it. Well, I do not get it anymore. Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. And not only that, Derek Carr is young. Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback whose best years, in my opinion, is still ahead of him. Like, if you get this man receivers on offense, I don't know what's up with Josh Jacobs. I kind of like Josh Jacobs had a great year last year. He was really kind of quiet this year. He probably even ran for 1,000 yards. It was a quiet 1,000. I don't know. I kind of think they should probably try to go to a double-headed monster in the backfield. Probably try to get somebody to take some of the load off of Josh. But if you truly build around Derek Carr for once, give him what he needs, give him an offensive line again, I truly believe that this, and give him a fucking head coach. I really believe Derek Carr could take this rate, could really flip the narrative on his career so far, and just start winning with the Raiders, bro. Because I told you, my uncle liked the Raiders, and good for the Raiders for making the playoffs. I kept telling them that they disappointed my uncle. My uncle was very happy. He loved Derek Carr. Not as much as me. He loved the Raiders far more than I love the Raiders. But he ain't no bigger Derek Carr fan than me. I love Derek Carr. My uncle was a John Gruden fan. Now, I haven't talked to my uncle about the John Gruden situation, so I don't know how he feel about John Gruden now. But he was a big John Gruden fan. I love Derek Carr, like I said. And so Derek Carr, to me, like if and obviously I don't have a vote, and to me, my opinion don't matter. But listen, Derek Carr would be my MVP if I had a vote. That's all I'm saying. I just think what he had to overcome this year, the mountains and valleys and the peaks and the highs and lows that they had to deal with, and the fact that he had to remain strong and a leader, and that dude in the midst of all of that to lead this team, to get them to the playoffs is big to me. Even if they don't win a game, which I do believe it's possible that I do think the Bengals are going to beat them, but I do think it's a possibility that they can win that game. I just think Derek Carr don't get enough fucking credit, man. I really don't. And I think if they go off of Derek Carr in the offseason, that'd be a mistake, because this motherfucker is like that. Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. That's a dude that you can build around, bro. Point blank period. Derek Carr is that dude. But that would be a great situation for a head coach, in my opinion, because I really don't think they're going to keep Versace. I don't. And I don't think they should. I watched him this season. I'm not saying he's a bad head coach, but he didn't really do shit that was special. You know what I'm saying? His coaching didn't really change the outcome of any of these games, to be honest with you. Now, you could say he need more time, and hey, maybe, but in the NFL, nobody has time. This ain't a time-oriented business. You don't get time. You need results. Results is what gets you time. And so, I think they're going to end up going in a different direction in their offseason. Now, I really hope they go Eric Bieniemy, bro. If Eric Bieniemy not the answer, bro, I will get on here and eat that. But I really think Eric Bieniemy, because you can't, listen, I don't know why I think Kyle Shanahan the best coach in the NFL. Clearly, he not the best head coach in the NFL. I just, for some reason, got a fucking Kyle Shanahan crush for some reason. I don't know why. I'm tripping. That's what I'm acting like. Like I got a fucking crush on Kyle Shanahan. Listen to that, Asmir. Beautiful right there. Anyways, the Chicago Bears entrance. The Chicago Bears opening is an interesting one because they fired a GM. I found out they fired a GM. So they need a GM and a head coach. Now obviously you hire the head coach. I mean the GM first, then you get the head coach. But they got to get this shit right. Because you got a young stud, a young bull in Justin Fields, bro. You can't mess this up, man. I'm glad the dude got fired because, like I said, bro, the draft Mitch Trubisky over Deshaun Watson, unbelievable, bro. Like I said, you can throw shade at him for drafting them over Mahomes. I don't think nobody knew Mahomes was going to be that good except for Andy Reid. But to draft him over Deshaun Watson, a proven commodity, like a proven talent in college, all that Deshaun Watson had did for you to just straight up ignore that for Mitchell Trubisky, that was nuts, bro. That now, if you want to bring up race and that we can easily have a discussion on that. Easily have a discussion on what black quarterbacks got to do compared to what white quarterbacks got to do, and that'll be the first example you can use. Deshaun Watson dropped in a draft in which Mitchell Trubisky was drafted higher than him. Traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky over him. Insane. Fucking insane. But for Chicago, now that you're about to get a whole new leadership, because you needed it, like I said, it's no excusing that. As soon as that happened, this motherfucker should have been fired after that year was over. Should have been fired in that moment, in my opinion, but after the results played themselves out, there's no way he should have still been hired. Chicago is an interesting spot, though. You got a lot of aging vets on defense. I don't even know if how long Khalil Mack gonna be there. But you do have a young quarterback that could bring youthful exuberance into all these older dudes. So really, this situation is no different. The only reason I don't really look at this situation as like a great situation, like better than the Vikings, because the weapons. I mean, I like David Montgomery. But I mean, Allen Robinson, is he gonna be back next year? I mean, outside of Allen Robinson, who had a down year this year, I don't really know what you got over there in Chicago to work with. Cole Kmet, the tight end. I mean, let's see what he about, but I don't really know what else you got over there. And I imagine, I don't, like, you know, if you can sign some free agents here and there now, get some good little draft picks for the, like, I think that's what you need to do. Because the Bengals already proven. You get your quarterback his top receiver, everything else it'll work itself out. If you know what I'm saying. Now, granted, Cincinnati got some pieces on defense, and they had some years to build up those pieces because they was bad for a little minute. But either way, Chicago, interesting situation, because this, I'm not gonna keep saying every situation is how you feel about the quarterback. This ain't, you shouldn't feel down on Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a good quarterback, I think. I think he was in a bad situation, coached bad basically. But Chicago, not a bad situation. I just don't think they really had that much talent compared to, you know, Justin Jefferson. Like, Justin Jefferson better than the fucking quarterback of Chicago. Not as important as the quarterback, obviously, and that can quickly change if Fields have a crazy ass year. But it's nothing on the offense of, you know, the at least I know if I go to the Vikings right now, Kirk Cousins is not that bad. Like, Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback, and I got a number one receiver already. And if Thielen is healthy, I got a good number two receiver. So I just think Chicago lacking in a couple areas where these other teams, and I know some people are like, well, why would the Jaguars be one of your top teams? Like I said, that got a lot more to do with the fact that you got a young stud quarterback in Justin and Trevor Lawrence, who I think is going to be the fucking man once he get a fucking head coach. Like, to me, Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback that just needs some competence at his head coach and offensive coordinator position, and he'll figure everything else out. Now, is that saying he will, you know, be able to win without talent around him? No, nobody wins without talent around him. But what I'm saying is he will be the one that's able to succeed, I think, more so without having too many, you know, all pros all around him. Because I think coaching, it just matters so much, bro. Matter more than the talent that you got. Because you got coaches that don't know how to utilize the talent. Like, coaching is everything, bro. Coaching is everything. Do you know how many coaches would have ruined Lamar Jackson, bro? Coaching is, and if you take anything from this episode, that's what it should be. Coaching is everything. Because I'm telling you, look at some of these teams if you switch out the head coaches, bro. And then look at some of these bad teams if you flip in the head coach. Like, we say quarterbacks matter, and quarterbacks do. You need a quarterback. I cannot stress that enough. You need a quarterback. But you need a fucking head coach probably almost as much as you need a quarterback too. Because Bill Belichick winning games with Mac Jones. Kyle Shanahan winning games with Jimmy G. Sean McVay won games, got to a fucking Super Bowl with Jared Goff. So, as much as quarterbacks matter, you get you a good fucking head coach, bro, you going places. You going places. And with that, I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kickin' It with Saint. This was a short, quick one. I just wanted to give y'all another one this week, man. I wanted to give y'all more content. I hope y'all enjoy y'all night, y'all morning, y'all afternoon. Tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. Saint out.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know what happens next. So without further ado,
free smoke.
Look, scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver.